Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of Semi Pro. Today, me, Josh, and Daniel will be watching Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. All right, and we're here. We're about to watch Scooby Doo 2, the second Scooby Doo movie where they unleash the monsters.
Wait, they made a second one?
Yeah, they release monsters in this one.
It's crazy. I never thought they'd be. Isn't that what they did in the first one? They
Yeah,
unleashed monsters.
They released the demon monsters that look like really bad CG.
But they didn't release them.
Right.
Someone else released the monsters.
Yeah.
Did I say monsters released or monsters unleashed?
You didn't
you
say the
said
right
both,
name.
I think.
Yeah,
I think
you
said
went
both.
monsters released unleashed.
Right.
Yeah, I think at some point you said monsters relished. I just rolled with it.
That's the new semi-pro. That's the new semi-pro condiment we're coming out with.
I may have said monsters re-unleashed, but I don't think I did. But I
Maybe.
might have. Who knows at this
Yeah.
point? What could I have
Yeah,
possibly
certainly
said?
not
Anything,
me.
really.
Monsters release.
Yeah. We heard you the first time.
Motherfuckers wear the
Monster
same champion shirt
relish.
every day. Oh,
All
you
right.
undefeated, huh?
All right, so everybody's predictions. I know this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I love this movie. I think it's probably a better Scooby-Doo movie than the first one.
Maybe. I don't.
I think I agree with that.
I think Dalton is exaggerating because last time he talked about this, he single thing that happened in the movie. But I'm gonna roll with it.
There's a giant
remember
pirate
this
ship.
one.
Shaggy turns into a woman.
And also a buff man. I
And
remember
also
that.
a buff
But
man.
I think you only remember those because that's what I said last time. Because those are the only things I remember. Coolsville sucks.
Coolsville
sucks,
Fred
yeah.
Jones.
There is
I-
super sick, like Mystery Inc. layer, and then I remember at one point they go to like a clubhouse that's a treehouse, I think, and they throw a frisbee.
It has the guy who voices
Seth
Chris in
Green?
Family Guy in it.
Yeah.
Right. They have Robot Chicken Man.
Robot Chicken Man, the Chicken Man.
Yo, they got the chicken man in
No,
there?
I remember this movie more than the first one because I used to watch it a lot more, and I think it's more like if the first one is a natural continuation of where Scooby Doo would have gone, this one is just another episode of Scooby Doo that's got a movie-sized budget.
Right.
Right.
This one also is the first movie I ever.
Ever. It's the first movie
It's the
ever
first
made.
Movie, that's it.
It stars Billy D. Williams.
The first movie ever is a sequel to another movie that came out later. No, this is the
Yeah.
first movie I remember
like Star Wars, you know?
seeing in a movie theater. It's not the first movie I saw. It's the first one I remember seeing. There's a tar monster in it. I'm just excited.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to watch this. I think this will be
I
a
know,
grand
I-
old gallivant in the gosh golly gookin.
In the Scooby Doo universe.
The
Yeah, I was going
Scoobiverse.
for
Into the
I was going
Scoobiverse.
for an alliteration thing with all my
Right.
G's, but that's cool. You can just fuck it all up, Josh.
Wow.
It's fine.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's cool.
I know it's cool.
No biggie.
All right.
So, yeah, no, I love this movie. This movie's
L.
great.
Scoobert Doo will return in Scooby Doo 2.
No! Whoa! Oh!
Ain't no way.
That was my best impression of a certain individual in whom we know. No! I'm sorry.
Let's go.
Let's go!
Shout out Soups. I love Soups. He's the best. I
Yeah.
love him.
All right, we're going to watch the movie when we come back after this little sound effect that's 0.83 seconds long. We will have seen the movie,
Wah, 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 wah.
and then we are going to talk about it.
We're back.
That was Scooby.
All right, we're back. We finished the movie. They interrupted the transition.
and we're back.
We're back. Josh's camera is on for the first time ever. Me and Daniel are here for the third time ever on camera,
Yeah.
video camera,
Ever
camera.
in the world, actually.
Yeah,
we didn't exist before.
We don't exist outside of this podcast. When this
Yeah, no,
ends,
that's
that's
true.
it.
As
for
soon
us.
as you stop seeing us, we cease to be there until next week.
Mhm.
Right.
As soon as you stop perceiving us,
Correct.
we
We
don't
we
exist.
exist in your mind.
Which means right now we don't exist because no one is
Right.
No, we exist
there's
in the
one.
eyes of like two people.
No, we're only 5 minutes into this, and so it'll be at about the 10-minute mark where everybody quits watching, and that's when
Right.
we see
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Scooby Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed.
Scooby-Doo 2
So-
release.
Films
so-
Unleashed.
Yeah.
So it goes stupid, absolutely stupid,
Yeah.
bro. Like there's no way around it. There's no
Shit go crazy, brazy, doopy, loopy.
right,
Like to put it lightly.
right. Daniel, say that one more time.
Shit go crazy, brazy, doopy, loopy, stoopy, poopy.
All right,
in a
thanks
banana.
everybody. We'll see you on the very next
Yeah.
episode of Semi Pro. That's it. That's all we've got to say. This movie is that
And
good.
we're back.
And that's it. We're wrapping up the episode. We'll see you next week where we watch Scoob.
Fun facts about this movie: it features a subplot about a man who can't admit that he's wrong about a fart scene from Scooby Doo 1.
No,
It's the only reference to Scooby Doo 1 that they have in the movie. It's really weird.
Strangely enough, yeah.
I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong.
Were. Okay,
No, I
everyone
was
else.
not wrong.
All
We
one
were
people-
both right. It was
No.
not the setup to the chase scene, but it was a good part of the chase scene. It was a part of the chase
It
scene.
was the end of the chase scene. I guess you can if you can consider the ending of a chase scene a part of it, then sure. Sure.
After the chase scene has ended and it's a different scene.
The epilogue of the chase scene was a great part of the chase
Look,
scene.
so
I agree.
so
You're absolutely
this
right.
is something that's been happening for the last like 20 minutes. Is Dalton thinks that in the chase scene of the haunted house in the first Scooby Doo,
Haunted roller coaster ride
the haunted roller coaster ride
with
correct?
the food that's trying to eat Shaggy and Scooby.
And the vaginas in the walls.
Right, at the end of that, when they're all hidden and they're all disguised, the luchador and the little person have like an argument, and they walk off. Then Shaggy farts, and that's it. They walk. The next scene is them running out,
Running
and
away because the fart
Why
was
are
a
we
sound.
talking about Scooby-Doo 1?
Because I want Dalton to admit that he's wrong.
I
I
will
want
not.
proof that Dalton admits he's
He
wrong.
never will. Do you not remember when we did Dow pronounced Tao and he was wrong twice and he went back and watched it and it was revealed that he was wrong and he just completely went back on what he was saying and said, "No, I was saying that the whole time."
do you mean-
an
do you
active
mean-
recording of him saying the opposite?
Do I know what it's like to have known Dalton for 6 years?
Yeah,
Correct.
don't ever admit that publicly.
Yeah. So
So this
Scooby
movie's
Doo
fun.
Monsters.
I think Coolsville sucks.
I
This
think
movie is-
Coolsville sucks.
This movie begins with the
Does
the
it
mystery
now?
gang.
I thought we just.
It doesn't really begin. It kind of just happens.
It kind of jumps into it. It jumps into the Scooby Gang having their own museum in Coolsville. The place
That
is called
sucks.
Coolsville, and it sucks. And
The place that
they're
Fred
having
Jones thinks sucks.
they're having an opening of their own museum where it's got all these costumes and all these bits and pieces from their.
What's
their
a
adventures.
costume?
And we see on their red carpet them and their fans. You see the Velma fans. You see the Fred fans who are all teenage girls. The Daphne fans, which is two guys
Also
that
all
got her
teen-
tattooed
Oh yeah, no,
on their chest.
yeah, it's me.
And then you see the Shaggy fans who are all stoners, but not.
No,
Hey,
they were.
Dan.
They were just
Dan,
all eating.
give me a
really
thumbs
good-
up real quick.
They're just hungry people.
Why?
Josh, give me a thumbs up real quick. Cool. You'll see when you watch back to the recording.
Okay.
Yeah, I look forward to it. But yeah, we see them being interviewed by the press. By what did you call her, Dalton?
I think Coolsville sucks.
Alison Silverstone.
Yeah, Alison Silverhand. Right?
Yeah.
Alison
That girl,
Silver Sable.
Alfred's niece from
Yeah.
the George Clooney
Right.
Batman film.
Alfred
and she-
Which is
Lee.
her most notorious role, other than maybe
Mean Girls.
played Greg Heffley's mom in the
Or Mean
Diary of a
Girls.
Wimpy Kid. She's
Right.
not in Mean Girls. It's fucking Clueless.
That's the one.
She also kind of somewhat, if you're squinting, resembles Drew Barrymore.
Right, but more so Maggie Lawson from Psych.
Right,
Right.
who also look
Daughter
very
of Drew
similar.
Barrymore / Alicia Silverstone.
But yeah, she interviews Fred. What does he say in this one? He
I
says
think
something along-
Coolsville sucks.
No,
That's
he
No,
says
no. He says Coolsville can do it on their own sometimes.
Yeah, well, because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
they're saying they're like, you're never gonna, now that you're big time celebrities, you're not just stand in Coolsville. And he's like, oh no, of course
No,
not.
Coolsville can do
handle
some
its
stuff
own
itself.
problems, but we'll always be here for you. You know,
Right.
it's very,
Yeah.
very humble, very genuine,
Very
wholesome
Fred.
moment.
And
Then that,
then while they're
that
in the
stupid bitch
museum,
Batgirl.
while they're in the museum, we see Velma get introduced to her love interest, Chris Griffin.
Yeah, Chris
Griffin.
Chris Griffin, the chicken man, if you will.
won't.
Seth Green himself.
Oh,
Mr.
I forgot what the context of the Chicken Man was.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mr.
wait.
Chicken Man. Yeah, she sees Seth Green from like across the room, and her jaw drops, her eyes bulge out, and then her
Right,
tongue
yeah.
rolls out. And she's so taken aback by the sight of Seth Green that she just forgets to exist for a minute. Even though he looks like Seth Green.
He looks
and
like
I was
Chris
saying this,
Griffin.
like, I don't want to.
He's
dog-
not
like,
unattractive.
No,
say
he's
that.
not ugly.
Seth Green is an attractive man. Like he's got.
I don't know that I would say that.
I would say that.
I'd say
He's got a chiseled face.
Attractiveness is all subjective.
That's
like,
true.
There is
Right,
no
true,
objective.
The
But
thing,
objectively speaking, he has a well-structured face. Like he's not.
What
he's
I
not
would
an ugly
say
man. He's not
is-
deformed. You know.
what I would say is Seth Green is not an unattractive man, but Seth Green is also not an attractive man.
Right.
Seth Green is a
He's
very
not as attractive as the
normal-looking
movie makes
human.
him out to be.
Yeah.
He's a very
also,
normal,
like-
average-looking human being. He's the guy you run into at Walmart, but would actually be okay talking to.
Right.
He's
Right.
he's your mayor, right?
He's the person you think about and then forget.
He owns your local bank, right? He's the manager at your local Sam's Club.
Point is,
Like-
he's insignificant.
Correct.
He's insignificant, and I don't buy Velma being as attracted to him.
This
as she is
movie
in
I
this
would've
treats
bought-
him like
I would have
Fabio.
bought discount Orlando Bloom, who was her love interest in the last one. For
Correct.
being
Yeah,
that, like upset because
yeah.
he was like he wasn't super attractive. He wasn't like me or Ryan Gosling or someone like that. But
He definitely wasn't
like, he was-
Dalton Barrett or something.
correct. Yeah, he was no Joshua Francis Clemens or something. But
Boy, dropped my full legal government name. But while they're at this opening and they're all kind of going about
what are they
CG
opening?
museum.
I thought it was like a bottle of hot sauce or something.
No, that's Jeremy Renner from Knives Out, Glass Onion.
thanks for the fucking spoiler. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Now I know Jeremy Renner's in that movie.
He isn't.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
He's too busy
Straight up,
recovering. in
he's
hospital.
not. Like not even a little
Yeah.
bit.
Just get well soon, Jeremy Renner. I know you're listening to the Semi-Pro podcast while you're on your road to recovery.
What else? Yeah, what else is he gonna be doing?
Yeah, he's definitely not doing something else.
No.
But while they're there, a CG pterodactyl flies into the building, and the mystery gang have to very quickly think on their toes.
Which is the
And-
first thing in this movie where we're like comparing the CG.
Right,
the
because
last one.
because it's a CG monster in the same vein of the last movie having CG monsters, and our first thoughts were, "Hey, this is actually kind of better. It
Well,
looks
because first
vaguely
the first shot we
realistic."
saw of it was a still shot, and the only thing that moved was his eyes blinking.
Static,
Right, and-
eyes blink, and it's at night. Those are all
And-
three
and it's
big
off-center.
qualifications,
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not the focus of the frame, so it's
Cool.
like, "Hey, that wasn't too bad," and you start to see it moving, you're like, eh.
And there's the opening
Right.
credits with some CG where it reminds
I
me
forgot, yeah,
of it reminds me of Spider-Man 2002 where he's
Mhm.
like running
Mm.
up the walls and stuff.
Right,
And it
right.
didn't
It's a
look
little
great
bit-
either.
little bit
Right,
claymation.
but it was fun. But it was fun, and I liked
Yeah.
it.
Right,
No,
I
it was
like the
cool
shot.
swooping through the city shots. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
In the town, Coolsville, which sucks.
Sucks.
It's Fred
And
Jones,
the
played
gang-
by Freddie Prinze Jr. Thinks
The gang tried to think on their toes and create a makeshift trap, which doesn't work, and
No,
instead,
Not even a little.
it
Well,
makes the pterodactyl.
in classic Scooby Doo fashion, they come up
The
with a
first trap
idea.
never works.
Well, yeah, and then Shaggy and Scooby goof it up because they're goofsters.
Right, they're meant to
They
tie
trust
him
them
into curtains, and
Instead,
they forget
instead
about tying.
They forget how to tie a knot, so
They
like,
instead
their
tie
hands
it to their
together.
own wrists.
They tie it to their own wrist and just run around him, and so it all drops off, and he gives him a light skin stare while his arms are crossed.
Correct. They say sin.
He says,
Sin City wasn't made for you.
and it is at this moment that we get introduced to the primary antagonist, the Masked Man. Does he ever get a name?
I think he does, but
Tim
I don't.
Burton.
Yeah,
Tim
I
Burton.
don't know what it is.
He is Tim Burton. He just he's wearing like a Doctor Doom mask that has a load of like spiked up hair at the back. He looks like Tim Burton. Exactly.
I would have to think the Tim Burton thing is. I would have, given the year this came out, I would think it's intentional, but I'm completely and utterly unsure.
I mean, was Tim Burton relevant enough in 2004 to be like? Hey,
I
this
would
is
say
our main
yes,
antagonist?
because that's like the peak of Tim Burton's relevance. Edward Scissorhands came out.
Yeah.
Was that 2004? Wasn't it? Like
no,
the
but
mid-90s?
it was late 90s. Plus, he had Batman
yeah.
in the early 90s. Like that's kind of peak Tim Burton. Willy Wonka was 2006, I think. 5, so that was his kind of decline.
Yeah, you know, he had done Planet of the Apes a couple years ago. He was
right. Like
yeah, but I can't see. I don't know. I just don't see them like being like, oh yeah, this is a Tim Burton reference in a Scooby Doo movie. Unless I don't know, maybe Tim Burton was their first choice director, and he said, "Fuck off."
Or Tim Burton was just a big Scooby Doo fan. James Gunn,
I
know.
Maybe James Gunn.
Maybe
or
James
the director
Gunn
were just big Tim Burton
fans.
fans.
I think James Gunn is a big Tim Burton fan. So I think it's intentional. It's too on the nose for it not to be intentional.
Right. It does. Yeah, but nonetheless, he spews a whole story about hating Mystery Incorporated and flies off with a pterodactyl and the Black Knight costume that they previously introed. This is also the first moment where Fred starts to feel the wrath of Big Brother from 1984, as his words of Coolsville can sort stuff on its own sometimes get twisted against him, and the reporter Alison Silverstone makes people think that he hates Coolsville, and Coolsville sucks.
Yeah, they predict modern news media.
Right,
they predict TMZ.
They predict the 24-hour news cycle.
Correct. Which I think was already a thing when this movie came out, but they still predicted it.
Correct.
Right. And
they're sitting around their super sick clubhouse.
Oh, it's
the Teen Titans headquarters.
It's the Teen Titans headquarters, but it's so cool. It's got like a Justice League styled like Mystery Inc. logo on the floor. It's so hard. So they're watching it and they're all accepting guilt, but essentially blaming Shaggy and Scooby. They're saying, "Oh, it's my fault. I shouldn't have trusted them. No, it's my fault. I should have known."
And they're listening in.
And the whole time, Shaggy and Scooby are behind the counter, all mopey and sad.
And so they think, "Hey, we're going to prove to them that we can be good detectives."
They're going to be serious detectives.
What does Scooby say here? That's like it's funny. He's like, "Rear whoops" or something, and I'm like,
Shaggy makes him like swear. They put their hand on the heart, and he makes him swear like we're going to be good detectives.
Really long,
and he's like,
he says something like, "We're going to be good detectives, and we are going to solve this case." And then Scooby goes,
he mumbles. He just makes like noises, but then the first word and the last word are the words that he said.
Yeah, it's so correct. And then they burst into the room, so they leave, go outside, and then burst back in.
One of the many drippy Shaggy outfits.
This movie's fucking dripping so much you have to put a wet floor sign by the side of it. But there's it was. Shaggy comes in wearing one of Fred's outfits, but dyed like green and brown. Like he's got like a
Hold on. Did you just say this movie's dripping so much you have to put a wet floor sign beside it?
Yeah. I'm sticking with it. He's wearing like a. He's wearing like a.
He's got like a green.
We didn't even talk about how.
We didn't talk about how he was at the beginning in his.
No, but for the opening of the museum, he's dressed as a blunt.
Like a blunt, yeah.
He's got like a.
Everyone's seen that. That's the classic Twitter meme about this movie.
Right. Yeah. But Scooby's wearing one of Velma's like turtleneck sweaters with
Yeah.
Daphne's boots. Daphne
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit that this dog is wearing her boots. She's more mad that they don't go with the sweater he chose.
And Scooby
Yeah.
just goes, "Oh, really?" And then moves on.
Which I mean, they kind of do. Like orange and pink kind of go
Yeah.
together, don't they?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, it
purple,
works
though.
on Scooby.
Yeah, the boots
purple.
weren't really. They're light enough. That was pink.
It worked. It worked.
I think.
Yeah.
I think they're supposed to be purple.
Well, sure, yeah, but
and they talk about
snob.
they talk while they're
Remember,
trying to
she
be
was
good
acting
detectives.
to a tennis ball on a stick, so she had no idea what it was wearing.
Right.
Yeah.
But they talk about possible like suspects, and they say,
Wait,
"What about
What do you mean? Wait,
what
Scooby-Doo
about-
isn't real?
what about the original
Sorry,
pterodactyl,
Daniel.
Tim Blake Nelson?"
Wait, who froze the tar monster? Who solved
The tennis ball
who
on a
solved
stick.
the equation? Who mixed the things together, all the potions, and he had the hair like Einstein?
That was a
Who did
tennis
that
ball on a
then?
stick.
How did this one do that?
You're telling me a shrimp fried this rice?
You're telling me a shrimp fried?
A shrimp fried this rice?
You're telling me
they-
Scooby Doo fried this rice?
They talk about
yeah,
possible
I
suspects,
am.
and they think Tim Blake Nelson,
Sussable
who's the original
prospects.
pterodactyl, who
Sussable Bakis.
what did he even do
What
as
did you
a
say,
villain?
Josh?
I'm trying to think about what Tim Blake Nelson
was
did as a
me.
villain.
He was like a criminal. He robbed.
Yeah, but he like swooped down and then took people's money as they were loaning into vans and used
Yeah,
that
he
to
was
fund.
like he was like the vulture. He was supposed to.
Yeah, and he used that to
was a cartoon-
fund.
Well, he was the pterodactyl.
He used that to fund like a green goop monster maker,
Right. Correct.
which comes back.
Which he
in this
never
movie.
got to because he was in prison.
No, he gets imprisoned and then tries to fly off in a makeshift pterodactyl outfit and dies, proclaiming as his last words, "Save me, suckers."
He says,
"Yeah,
"So long, suckers!
long, suckers."
Save me, suckers!"
Yeah.
But then they realized that his roommate just got released like a week ago. I think,
Jacoby.
something.
He
No,
was
Jacoby
His
was
roommate
the
Mr.
pterodactyl.
Pickles.
Wickles, yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
Pickles.
Mr. Pickles.
He turned himself
Mr.
into a
Pickled egg.
pickle. He turned himself
Right.
into a
He
pickle.
turned himself into a pickled egg. That's
The funniest shit I'd ever
ate.
seen. And Mr. Wickles was the Black Knight, which was the other costume that got stolen from the museum.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So they're like, oh, it's very clearly him then. So they go to his mansion and they ring the doorbell and he says, "Hey, ring my doorbell one more time." And Fred does it because he's like, "Hey, what's
It's
this
like,
guy going to do?"
what's ringing
What's
a
the worst?
doorbell gonna do?
That's what.
And
Yeah,
they do
that's
the- they do
verbatim
the
what it
classic-
says.
Trap door opens underneath them. They fall.
The
down,
classic Scooby Doo
coaster.
trope of them all
Yeah.
falling, but Scooby gets stuck in the air just a little bit
Right.
longer than everyone else, and
Yeah,
they
he
fall
does a
into
little run.
they fall into a giant metal ball from the board game Mousetrap.
Nah, it's the boulder
yeah.
from.
Parts of the Caribbeans too.
Nah, what's the Indiana Jones
No,
movie?
it's,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No, it's the cage that the feudal Japanese kept in Turtles 3, Turtles in Time.
That's the one.
That's
And
correct.
they get imprisoned in this little cage ball, and they realize that there's a Girl Scout, and are they just meant to be generic religious?
I assumed Jehovah's Witnesses.
I thought Jehovah's
Yeah,
Witnesses.
no,
go
yeah,
door to door like that.
they're Jehovah's Witness / Mormons.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right,
and
yeah,
then they're like, "Hey, do you want to hear the good word of the Lord?"
Dalton,
Which-
you know we're on a video podcast, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
this was my first thought when I was like, "Oh yeah, why don't we do a video podcast?" And I thought because you just do this kind of shit all day.
It's like it's not for a purpose. There's no joke.
Well, it's because I
On a
It's
phallic
not
object.
I'm getting bored that he's not the one
It's
explaining it.
It's Dalton needing to express his homosexual urges, but he can't in a healthy way because he's a man of God.
Oh, and it's the fact that
And now
Dalton,
he's smoking it like a stogie.
and it's the fact that Dalton doesn't want to explain, but also gets bored at hearing us explain.
Yeah.
Uh, how do they get free from the ball? Velma does something with like the
Oh,
thing.
no,
she
no,
takes her
it's
makeup
Daphne. She does
and
the makeup
Daphne.
thing.
Yeah,
The-
she
the
takes her
classic-
makeup and she
classic
puts the
pore
blush
strip
on the
on
thing
the-
and then
yeah,
the
the
pore
blush,
strip.
yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
/ uses
and-
her credit card.
Right. and also
Slash
making
uses her
sure-
credit card if you're Daniel when you watch the Mandela Effect version. Of this
That
movie.
wasn't me.
That was-
What?
Josh Mandela affected his Mandela effect joke.
Okay, I was wrong. My bad.
Well, at least one of us can admit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See how
Daniel,
easy that was, Dalton?
you could learn a thing or two from Josh.
See how easy that was, Dalton? 3
Nah,
words.
I didn't.
But they
Although
get everyone
I
food.
do think that the credit card thing, because I when you said that, I also that I think that
I
was from
do
like a
vaguely-
Scooby Doo episode
Probably.
or movie.
I
It
think
have
it
been
may have been
Zombie
Zombie
Island.
Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
But they free the Jehovah's Witness / Mormons, and then they free the Girl Scout, and then they break into this old man's home and vandalize it and steal from it.
Josh, point at the camera.
No, and then
Wait, hold on.
Josh,
We need to do our thumbnail faces.
Yeah, Josh. I'm not using that for the thumbnail.
no, I know. What happened?
Hold on, wait, hit the Eunice face.
While in this old man's residence that they broke into, Scooby and Shaggy find a little note saying that he's gone to a bar called the Faux Ghost, which is apparently a villain hideout where everyone who hates the Mystery Incorporated gang go to
Yeah.
talk about their hatred.
It's the villain bar.
It's the villain bar, and Fred, Velma, and Daphne get attacked by the Black Knight as a ghost, which leads to a pretty cracked fight scene. Honestly, it's not bad. Yeah, this is why I don't want to do a video podcast. By the way,
What
because
happened? My fault,
he's
my
too
fault, my
inept
fault.
to be able to actually fucking talk.
My fault. What happened?
I like seeing Dalton forget that he's on video and being
I have
recorded
not.
for
I've not
every single
forgotten
moment.
once. I'm watching the recording as I'm doing these things, Josh. I've
don't-
not once forgotten.
Unfortunately, as you can no longer admit doing wrong, I can't believe anything you ever say.
Yeah, no, ditto on that dildo.
But Velma definitely fights
fault.
the Black Knight ghost while Velma tries to figure out its weakness. She figures out the
Yes,
weakness.
and then
It's
the
kicking it in
sword.
the balls.
Kicking him in
The
ball.
sword
Yeah, then
falls
sword
between the
doesn't
book
go
and
through-
Velma.
It doesn't go
Not-
through the book.
not a
No.
like
ghost
Josh
sword.
thought it did.
Like
I
I
just
but I
didn't-
was able to admit I was.
I
wrong.
just didn't think
unlike
at
one
all,
of
actually.
of the three of us.
It's nice to know that I think everything Dawn said today has been wrong.
That one was on purpose. I was hoping Daniel
I
would
don't-
agree
I
with
can't
me.
believe you because unfortunately you no longer have to
I
admit
just don't
the
believe that.
wrongdoings.
No, the goal was Daniel would like side with me, and then we'd just gaslight you into thinking that that's what
Yeah,
happened.
no.
Yeah,
No,
totally.
Usually that's how things would go, because usually by the end of these movie watchings, I'm more annoyed at Josh than I am at you.
Yeah.
But not this time.
Not today. Not
time
today.
You're the antagonist.
I'm gonna treasure this for however long I got left.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
The rest of this episode.
The rest of this episode, which I'm sure Dawn's gonna tell me to hurry up in a second.
Yeah. hurry up.
Nah,
After-
we're doing pretty
after
good on
s-
time, actually.
After staring into the camera for 15 minutes. I can't remember where Fred, Daphne, and Velma go after this, but Shaggy and Scooby go to the Faux Ghost, where they dress up as pretend villains, and Scooby puts on a wig and a very drippy jumpsuit.
Pretillins, as it were.
He's drippy. And also, he keeps his Scooby Doo collar.
He keeps his Scooby Doo collar as like a
He has it on
necklace.
a chain. Yeah.
And so they go there to try and talk to some of the villains, figure out what's happening, and they find them throwing darts at like pictures of them and
Yeah,
a
they
whack-a-mole
also have
game,
a whack-a-mole, yeah, with their heads.
but with their heads. And the one that the head that's meant to resemble Daphne looks absolutely fucking nothing like Daphne. And if I was Michelle Gellar, I'd probably take offense to it.
I think
Yeah.
it was the
However-
same thing that was on her shirt, right? Wasn't it the same like printed picture that's on her shirt, like her headshot?
I mean, it might be based off the same picture, but it didn't look much
Yeah,
like her.
I don't remember that. I didn't pay much attention to that. I do remember one of them hitting Fred's picture right in his dick.
Yeah, right. In his,
Right, yes,
yeah,
with a
scrotum.
dart.
Yeah.
But they find old man Pickles and they have a conversation with him where he's like,
Yeah, they
"Oh."
find Mr. Pickles the sexy dog.
They find
Pickles.
Pickle Rick.
and they talk to him and they're like, hey, so how much do you like being a villain, you know? And he goes, oh, it's shit. I wish I was dead. Never do this. Get out of this life while you can.
Yeah.
And so
Shaggy says,
He tries
you
to
inspired me. You inspired me and my brother to go into villainry. And he's
my
like,
brother, yeah,
no.
he calls Scooby his brother.
He's like, no, don't do that. It's the worst mistake you could ever make. Get out while you still can. And Shaggy goes, well, then I think you'd be... Hold on. Well, I think you'd be a little thankful for your friend's Mystery Inc. And then he
takes off his hat and his gold tooth.
And then the guy goes, no, if I ever see them, I'm going to squeeze their eyeballs out and make them eat one of their eyeballs while their other eyeball still has to watch. And Shaggy just slowly puts his hat back on and his tooth back in. And he goes, we got to go. And then just walks away.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
Zoink, Scoob, let's get out of here.
Oh, and then while this is happening, the gang goes back to the museum because all the rest of the other costumes have been stolen.
Right,
which
because
is when,
Velma's on a date with Chris Griffin.
Right, she's on a date with Chris Griffin when something, what was it, a leather jumpsuit? No,
she's
latex,
wearing an all leather jumpsuit, and it keeps making fart noises. And she's like, that wasn't me.
That was the suit. And then while they're there, they get interviewed again by Alicia Silverstone.
And this is where it happens.
This is when Fred's like, "Hey, I'm not going to talk to you because you're going to mess up my words. You're going to twist my words."
And then he looks in the camera and goes,
I think Coolsville sucks. Like he looks directly at them, and he points and he holds up.
Afterwards, he's like, wait, no.
And while he's freaking out about that, Daphne goes to confront her, and she's like, "Hey, I know you're the one who stole the costumes, and it's Tim Burton." She does it's the same thing she does in the first movie when she's talking to the voodoo guy, and she's like, "But you told me to not tell you, so that I wouldn't think that you think that I think that I should go there.
And you think that I shouldn't do that, yeah."
And Alicia,
she's very good at doing that bit. Like it's something in the way she delivers it. I don't know.
I would be annoyed at that bit, but then Alicia Silverstone's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What the actual fuck do you mean?"
Well, I would be if Sarah Michelle Gellar wasn't so good at delivering that.
But
bit.
If she and Freddie Prinze Jr. weren't the two most fucking charismatic people on earth, Fred and Daphne would not work half as well in these movies.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Yeah, except for dorky chicks like you turn me on.
Turn me on too. But while Daphne,
but imagine because we were talking about the Scooby Doo prequel or young whatever the fucking is, the Robbie Amell one. Imagine Robbie saying that line. He doesn't have the
he doesn't have the raw natural charisma.
I will say those movies not great. The guy who plays Shaggy and Robbie Amell.
No, I remember
killing
the casting being
and he's got the riz. He may not have dorky chicks like you turn me on to riz.
He's pull off the dorky chicks like you turn
but
me
he
on
definitely has. I think Coolsville sucks riz. So
maybe I don't know.
I don't. Not to the same degree that Freddie Prinze Jr. can.
Well, no, but nobody does.
Right.
Nobody's looking at the camera and says it's a talking dog. Like nobody's got that.
I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great show because it's for people of all ages.
It's not a boys' cartoon. It's not a girls' cartoon. It's a talking dog.
It's a talking dog, dude.
To anybody who hasn't seen that meme, this is just nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everyone's seen that meme. It's peak Freddie Prinze Jr.
Don't assume that, Josh.
I will.
I have to assume, without potentially making an ass out of you, and that anyone watching.
What did you do to you?
Yeah, keep going, Josh. Just stop, Daniel. It's cool. It's done. It's done. It's fine though, but it's done.
But yeah, after he realised all the costumes had been taken, we cut back to Scooby and Shaggy at the faux ghost, who run into Patrick. Who Seth Green,
Scoobert and Shaggart,
the Chicken Man, Norville and Scoobert, they run into Seth Green, who is threatening a guy
and
outside.
Scooby with an eye, the woman who Shaggy is dating.
Right, Norville and Scoob, not Scoobert, do.
They run into Seth Green, who's meant to be like intimidating a guy outside the pub.
Yeah,
but it's
so
just
funny.
It's so funny.
Scene in the movie.
It's like a normal or like
slightly above average, I think.
And he looks tall too because he's wearing like a turtleneck and he's skinny.
Yeah,
he's got,
he's got like
He
a
also
bit
looks tall
eccentric
because he's
height.
standing next to Seth.
correct. Yeah,
and he's being threatened by Seth Green, who's like at his he's like
trying
at
to,
his
shove
chest,
him against a wall. Yeah.
Oh.
and then he turns around and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, how you doing?" And they go, and
I'm
they're
Chris
kind of freaked
Griffin.
out.
Yeah.
And this is when Shaggy says the hardest part I've ever heard, and he goes, I think we're gonna make like your personality and split.
It's not the
Yeah.
hardest bar because that's coming up. In a
And
few
I know
minutes, but we'll
what
get
you're
there.
thinking. I know what you're
He
thinking.
did,
Of.
however, predict one of M. Night Shyamalan's only good movies. That's
True. But then
I don't know.
Seth Green
I
has
haven't seen Split. It might
Man,
be shit. I don't fucking know.
it's slightly better than his usual stuff.
Yeah.
I liked Unbreakable.
Yeah. But
If you liked
Seth Green's like,
Split-
oh no,
Weirdly
you know,
enough,
you just
I did watch Glass though. I didn't watch Split, but I watched Glass.
Glass is worse than Split. This is
Yeah.
slowly turning into an M. Night Shyamalan review again. I refuse to let that man occupy any more of my mind.
I try not to think about him, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, it's hard not to.
But Seth Green's like, oh yeah, you have to be a bit tough to these guys, otherwise they'll eat you alive. And then he just starts making like monster noises and goes,
Well, he starts hating that.
Hey,
He's like,
what-
I'm just messing with you guys.
what does he do? He like
Doing
Scooby
it.
and Shaggy tried to sidestep him, and then he also like sidesteps. And he goes
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean by
Well,
that?"
and then he looks at Scoob as in like, Scoob, you make one, and Scooby goes, "Roar."
It could use some work.
Then they they get attacked by did they get attacked by the twins at this point because they're sneaking around in like the warehouse?
Not yet. The twins, I think, come up after everybody sees.
Right, they've been they've been
Yeah.
unleashed. They find the mines, which is
Correct.
where Scoop the rest of
This
all
is when they're doing the buff
the potions.
Yeah. Well, while Scoob and Shaggy, they get to this abandoned mine shaft at the same time the rest of Mystery Inc. does, and they bust in on Mr. Pickle Rickles, trying to sell his amusement park.
Oh yeah,
Scooby
he's
and
trying to
Shaggy.
get free
Yes,
child
yes.
labor.
Yeah.
He says this is going to be a great opportunity for young kids. They do all the work, and then we get rich. Free miners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No, he says
so
that.
during this, Shaggy and Scooby are going down to the bottom of the mines while the rest of Mystery Inc. is questioning Mr. Rickles. This is when they start taking potions.
Right, yeah,
And
they-
Shaggy
yeah,
turns into a woman.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
So they take
first,
a concoction.
Scooby opens the fridge. He takes a little sip of something that turns him into a slug monster. Then
Correct.
Shaggy freaks out. So they're trying to find. They're just looking at the other potions to try and find an antidote. He takes another one that makes him
A woman.
something.
He takes one.
Scooby
Well,
turns into the Tasmanian devil.
Right,
Right,
Scooby turns
yes.
into the Tasmanian
Scooby-
Devil while
and-
Shaggy is a woman
Shaggy turns
Then-
into a woman. Yeah.
with
and-
the worst
and then-
head replacement I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
Correct.
bad.
And then Shaggy turns into
so
a buff guy with
It's
actually
literally
pretty...
literally like
yeah, no, the
there's
buff
a
guys
woman's
like
body,
that.
and then there's
Mhm.
just a picture of Matthew Lillard's head on
It's
top
not
of
even
it.
a picture. It's a completely different skin tone, completely different
Mhm.
shade, different
Shade.
lighting. Like
Like,
everything
it's
is bad.
awful. And then he turns into the Muscle Man, which is all prosthetics, but it looks really good.
It looks great.
Yeah, the Muscle Man is fire. Like
it's
that's
so good.
It looks like, I mean, he looks comically jacked, obviously, but it
Right,
looks
but that's the effect they're
real
going
to
for.
an extent. Like outside of
It
the
matches-
size, it looked real.
outside
It
of the
matches
fact
Scooby's
that
aesthetic.
outside of the fact that like it was supposed to look a little fake, it looks
Right.
real. Right.
Yeah.
I could have
Yeah, yeah.
believed it. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Scooby, like you say, turns into an Einstein, like mad scientist type,
right.
who
Yeah, who says
he
he
said-
misses sniffing his own butt?
he misses eating his own
Oh,
vomit. and
how
sniffing
I
his own
miss
butt.
the simple days of eating my own vomit, sniffing my own butt, and chasing
then-
squirrels.
He says that he's going to cure them both, and Shaggy doesn't like that, so
Yeah.
he grabs one of the things and he grabs the cure and like throws it at the camera.
Yeah, he
What does
chucks
he
it, 'cause
say?
This movie was released in 3D.
He
I can't
says
remember.
something and it's goofy. He's like,
I-
don't want to change, bro, or something.
And then,
He starts
the entire
talking in a
time-
server voice.
he's something like, I don't want to be small or something.
Yeah. And the entire time you just hear dun 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 dun
I
dun
remember,
dun
he
dun
calls
dun.
Scooby a dork. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yes, he calls Scooby a dork.
yeah.
And it hits the camera, and then we see the free miner bit, and then it cuts to them trying to get back into the underground, where they find Scooby and Shaggy like implanted in the wall
Yeah.
from an explosion, and Scooby cures them both very quickly.
Which he could have done from the beginning, but doesn't.
Well, yeah,
from
yeah.
the explosion,
Right.
Because they needed to find them in the in those positions.
Correct,
And-
because they're the dumb characters, so they have to be in a
Right.
situation.
But Shaggy throwing that potion opened up a door through an explosion to the rest of the costumes that have been stolen. And so, yeah, well done, guys.
What I'm
It's-
listening.
We see the rest of the costumes that have been stolen, and Scooby and Shaggy decide to just go and start pressing a load of random buttons. For some reason.
Yeah. Well, no, they're rapping. They're
Yeah,
it's
it's-
making-
Oh yeah, they find like a disc, and it lights up and makes a noise whenever they push a button. So they start freestyling.
they start making a beat out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Hey,
Like,
I don't blame him at all.
I understand. I know what it's like, man.
Hey, I've been there in the streets.
But in doing so, they unleash the apocalypse, and the rest of the monsters that that they have captured and then have been stolen from them.
yeah.
And at this point, they're just running away because they can't deal with it. Because there's the Tar Man, Minor
Tar Man.
49er,
Minor 49.
who
Knight.
else? Black Knight. He
Cotton
was
Candy
there.
Man.
No, we don't see Cotton
That's
Candy Man until
Electric
later.
Man.
Pterodactyl, but it's pronounced pterodactyl.
The two twins. The
Right,
twin
they,
skeletons.
The evil masked man's like, oh, you run into my
Bogart's
trap,
ghost."
Scuba
No,
Duba.
Captain Cutler's ghost. That's what it was.
Right, and they but now they're all like real.
Real?
So real, and so Scooby and Shaggy run away, being chased by twin skeletons.
Skeletons.
And the rest of the gang escape in the mystery machine, which leads to a pretty crack scene of Scooby and Shaggy kind of surfing
it's a
down.
crack scene with the worst
yes, the
CGI
worst Scooby Doo
transition
effect.
The
Yes.
worst, yes.
two CGI
So okay, wait. So
transitions ever.
we can't.
The
It's
first
hard
one
to.
makes sense, I guess.
The
'cause
first one is
obviously
Matthew Lillard as a
Matthew
real
Lillard is a
person.
real person. Like he's
Right.
not a CGI character. So
and
he really grabbed. Well, let's explain the scene. They're running out. They grab the metal.
they grab, like,
garbage
trash can.
lids.
Yeah.
And they surf, skate, snowboard.
They
down
run
this-
to the edge of a cliff
this
and then they jump off and
yeah,
they skate
big
down.
mountain. They skate down it.
And with Matthew Lillard, he jumps off. It cuts to a different shot entirely, and it's
that was the bad. Like it was bad.
It's not-
but
it's not the best, but
probably
it's
I
fine.
wouldn't have said anything if you had it.
right, exactly. It's not noticeable enough. Then Scooby, who is a fully
Who's a
CG
fully
character,
CG character who's a
who
tennis
they
ball on a
modeled,
stick.
they control every aspect of his being. He jumps off, and then it just like as
It
he's
cuts to a
falling,
completely different shot.
it changes everything. He has like a
as
different
soon as he
color.
jumps, it cuts like he's further down. It's darker lighting.
It's
He-
almost
he's-
like it almost feels
He's got
like
a different tone.
It almost feels like they rotoscoped him from the first movie.
Yeah,
Like a
Yeah.
deleted scene from the first movie to
Yeah.
make this scene, kinda.
it literally doesn't
why?
make any sense.
Because even Matthew Lillard looks a little like he looks different. I don't know. It's odd. The whole thing is off.
Well, Matthew
Yeah.
Lillard looking a bit different kind of makes sense because he was like green screened in.
Right, which is why I'm thinking it could have been a deleted scene from the first movie that they just added into this one. Like that's
Maybe.
entirely possible. They're
I-
just reusing footage.
I
'Cause there-
suppose so. Yeah.
There could have been a scheme
yeah.
scene that was deleted.
I could see that working into zombie
it may-
monster
yeah.
spooky island.
It would
Yeah.
make sense as to why they look so out of place because
Mhm.
it would have been them going through what I can assume is like a jungle instead of a forest.
Right. Well, and also like I don't know, it could have been from the opening. Who knows? Like, but that's my theory in my brain that this was a scene that was deleted from the first movie that they just added into this one. I don't know that. There's no
Yeah,
basis
that
for
would
this.
make a lot of sense, but
No
also
basis
it
at
could just
all.
be shitty CGI.
Yeah. And in fact, that's the most obvious answer, so that's
Yeah.
probably what it is.
Almost
Right.
definitely.
But
But it wasn't the only shitty CGI.
Right. No,
Right.
not
That's
by far.
most of the CGI in this movie.
Yeah.
But
I don't know about-
they get chased by the
Which
by the
I have a
twin
theory on the
skeletons.
bad CGI, but we'll get to that
But
at the end.
we'll go over that in a bit because we can really talk about that towards the end. I think.
I have a theory
Uh,
about it.
But they get chased by the twin
s-
skeletons.
sneak peek.
Scooby does the most cracked thing I've ever seen, where he grabs like a branch, swings
Oh, yeah,
round,
he
and
hits
ends up on the
Yeah.
side. He ends up behind
Yeah.
them and distracts them while they slam into a tree and get it makes a bowling ball noise, and then it plays like a really shittily CG'd version of the bowling alley animation.
And then he grabs one of their heads and he throws it behind him.
Yeah.
It's really cracked. And then they both land in the mystery machine after flying off a cliff.
Yes,
edge.
which is
Right,
hard.
yeah.
Like that goes
Very hard.
crazy.
It is
Uh,
so sick. And there was like a little mattress they pulled out to like.
Yeah.
It's the
It's
Shaggy
so-
and Scooby mattress for when they
Yeah.
fall into the mystery machine. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's at this point that the evil masked man is saying, Mystery Incorporated, turn yourselves in or we'll just wreak havoc on the city. So everyone's turned on them now and they're like, hey, they all campaign out of their headquarters and some guy has a sign that says mystery stink, which I'm a big fan of.
And this is when the scene happens where on the news, Fred says, I think
I think
Coolsville
Coolsville
sucks.
sucks.
Right. Goes, I think Coolsville sucks.
I think
Wait, no.
Coolsville sucks.
Wait, no,
Josh,
don't
Josh,
record me
Josh,
saying
do
that.
it.
I think Coolsville sucks.
You didn't put your finger at the camera.
Oh, man.
Do
It
it
doesn't
again.
point the
One more
finger.
time. Yes, he does.
It doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Don, you've been so wrong about literally everything else in
I
this
feel
movie.
like
I don't
he
care
does
if you
point
are
his
right or
finger.
wrong in this
I
actual
feel like he
situation.
does point his finger.
Daniel also pointed his finger, so just point your finger.
Admittedly,
so you can be like us.
I've been doing the finger point since last week
Yeah,
or the
same.
week before because
Same.
you were doing it then. So I don't actually know, but I want to
Josh,
say he
Josh,
points-
No,
Point your
it's
finger-
just it's just him going. I think Coolsville sucks.
Josh, point your finger at the
Uh,
camera for the thumbnail, though.
I think Coolsville sucks. Anyway,
Daniel, all three of us have to do it.
no, fuck off. Fuck off. Then instead of going back
Josh,
to their headquarters,
What's the point of the
Fine.
video podcast if we can't sync up?
what's the point of a
Fine.
video podcast
It's
if you
fun.
put a pencil on top of your fucking microphone and just fuck around? I'm
It
watching
was
you,
a-
Don.
hey,
that's the point because that's entertaining.
It was a
That's more
straw.
entertaining.
It was a straw, Josh.
You were still sucking on it and deep throating it. Okay.
So instead
This
of
guy's an ordained minister.
Don't say that.
congratulations, Don. By the way, I just want to say that now.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah,
But-
I'd congratulate you, but I hate your guts.
Instead of going back to their
me too.
instead of going back to their headquarters, which is currently being besieged by all of the monsters, they go back to their original.
Bro said besieged.
They go back to their original treehouse hideout from when they were teens, which has a load of memorabilia in it, including a photograph of all of them when they were young,
Yeah,
played by the exact same actors.
Yeah, played by the same actors.
Which I get in my head. I remembered it being the same actors when I was a kid.
They do look really similar.
Yeah.
Like some of them look really
It's a
similar.
very good cast for younger versions of these actors.
And well, plus they're not talking, so it's not like you get that weird.
Well,
sort of
there is some
disassociation.
talking, but it's they dubbed it.
Did they?
Yeah, there's a few like Shaggy now it's not like they dubbed their mouths, but there's voiceover of like lines that they're saying.
Oh,
but it's
yeah,
the new
yeah,
cast like
Right, yeah,
speaking.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And it's all of them playing fetch with frisbee with Scooby. As
And it's a little
teens.
puppy Scooby Doo, and he's
Yeah.
adorable.
And Josh, you said like canonically this is the version of Scooby.
Yeah, technically this is the version that solved all the mysteries.
Yeah, like this is the version from the
Mhm.
show. And the puppy version of Scooby Doo looks more like
More like
you know, cartoon
he looked more like
Scooby-Doo,
Scooby-Doo.
like,
Yeah.
they really did a good job making that the
Mhm.
case, which is neat. Like they don't do that like they didn't have to do that, but they did. They could have made the
Right.
adult version of Scooby-Doo the like definitive version, but they didn't.
Mhm.
They did a good job like preserving the cartoon, which was a neat thing that they did in
Right.
these movies.
And looking at that, they kind of rediscover their love as a friendship group.
And I
And
think
they're
there's
like,
like
"Hey."
a whimsical version of the neat playing in the
Yeah, which
background.
by the way, just
Yeah.
shout out to the what's the guy who did this? Paul Newman, the guy who made all
Yeah,
the music. for
David
this.
David Newman.
Paul Newman,
David
the guy
Newman.
who makes
Shout
the
out David
salad
Newman.
dressing.
Shout out
David Newman.
Newman's own.
Yeah, fucking killer soundtrack in this whole movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty great.
And yeah, so they realize that like we need to solve this issue. So they bunker down and a
We
pop
need to
punk song
solve
plays.
this mystery.
Mystery. And they a pop punk song
Incorporated
plays while they like tamper with the disc that they stole that unleashed all the monsters.
Or Velma basically
Velma
she has
does.
an idea. She's like, I know we can reverse this if I do this. This gives some like science jargon. I can reverse this if we do this, and this. And Fred's like, well, let's do it, team. And then Shaggy and Scooby stand outside sad by the lake while
Right, because they don't have anything to do.
All right, Josh, I've went 15 minutes without saying it, but now we do need to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it. We're getting towards the end anyway. They get attacked by Captain Cutler?
Cutler's ghost.
Yeah.
Captain Crunch.
Who he harpoons the mystery machine as they try and drive away.
Yeah, Captain.
And so Fred has the brilliant idea of, instead of driving away, which he's hooked them to himself so they can't, he reverses into him and he
pops
sends
it in
him
reverse and hits him so hard he goes into space like an episode of
He sends him
Pokemon.
to like halfway across the lake. It's fucking insane.
He says, I think Skip should go to
the moon.
He says, I think Coolsville
sucks. So they drive off and they're like, okay, we need to get back to the mine so that we can undo all of this.
Says, so we back in the mine.
And then they get attacked by the pterodactyl.
He says he wants a
side
free
to side.
They get attacked by the pterodactyl, so he puts it in...
It's pronounced pterodactyl.
He puts it in cruise control and says, hey, Shaggy, drive. Which implies that Shaggy can't hit the accelerator.
Shaggy does not know how to use the gas pedal.
So they're trying to... What's he trying to... He tries to harpoon him from the back of the mystery machine. And Shaggy like pops his head back there too. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing down here?" And Shaggy goes, "Hey, Drake, who's driving the mystery machine?
Who's driving the car?
Who's driving the mystery machine?"
And it's just Scooby, who's just like, he's not even in the driving seat. He's in the passenger,
and he just goes
to be driving. He goes, "Hello."
So all right, this is a good time to talk about something really quickly, just very quickly. Scooby is an idiot in this movie.
Yes.
And that sounds like it would be like a negative. But it's not.
So good.
No, it
makes
the movie so much funnier.
It makes this movie.
Because Scooby-Doo is not really stupid in the cartoon. Even in the
Scooby-Doo
first movie,
like
he's not really that dumb.
He's got like a general intelligence, you know? He's not like super smart, but he's average.
Yeah.
He's a little kid in the first one. He's like, I don't know, we'd call him like 10. But in this movie, he's just stupid.
Yeah, he's just a dumb.
He's just the dumbest dog to ever exist.
And he's
he's great.
It's fantastic. It's the best thing I've ever seen. And he manages to grab the wheel and just about save everyone from crashing into a truck driven by another monster who just constantly looks like surprised at everything he's doing.
Yeah.
So
his eyes are always bulging out, so he always looks like he's in shock at what he's doing.
Right. Though especially that scene, because I think he does like show him with an actual surprise.
Right.
On his
That's the scene where he's very actually surprised. Then he really looks surprised.
Yeah.
And then the pterodactyl crashes into like a baby billboard, and it's right where the baby's head is, so it makes it look like he's got a little baby body. It's very funny. Then I think Velma finds like a shrine to the original pterodactyl guy, Tim Blake Nelson.
Jacobo.
Which was made by her boyfriend Seth Green, and so she thinks that Seth Green is the bad guy.
It wasn't. She
thinks that Seth Green made it,
correct,
and he's the bad guy. And then he saves her from
red herring.
He saves her from falling, and he's like, "Hey, see, that proves I'm not the bad guy."
And
which,
to be fair,
it doesn't.
Well, hold on. To be fair, he's a pretty effective red herring. Like the whole
he's
time,
a very good red herring.
You're kind of like
in this movie.
I started to question it, despite the fact that I knew who the bad guy was.
Right. Despite the fact that I had a vivid image of Alicia Silverstone's face being peeled off.
Yeah.
Like I still was thinking, oh, it's
Seth
Green.
How does Seth Green work into the villain plot? Like that's what was going through my mind, despite the fact I know who the bad guy is.
Right. Yeah.
So.
No, he's really good. Plus that scene outside the photos, as much as we clown it, he does do a really good like switch to being a kind of, you know, uncertain guy. Like I don't particularly buy him as intimidating, but I do buy that he's mentally unstable.
Yeah. For sure.
Just like you.
Just like me, for real. This movie's like my Black Panther. I'm kidding.
Stop. Well, I'll cut that out. Just kidding. I can't.
No, I'm not cutting anything out of this.
It's fine. But do
you want to say? Do you want to make a different joke real quick, just so everybody's like on the same page?
Yeah, this movie's my personality.
Okay, that's better. Keep going. You've got
he-
you've got 2 minutes to wrap this up.
Yeah, he gets kidnapped by the pterodactyl. They all go down to the original place where the monsters were unleashed, and then everyone gets caught by the tar monster in the worst CG I've seen in the movie so far. Because
hit it.
there's no shadow or anything on what the tar monster does, and it's kind of a horrifying scene because it's the entire Mystery Incorporated group being suffocated to death by tar. Dalton's like, hey, you got 2 minutes, wrap it up, and then does this. The entire group's being
They get tarred. It looks like Venom CGI.
Yeah, but then
gets backed up into a fire extinguisher. He takes the fire extinguisher and he
does the fucking sickest shit I've ever
He's doing
seen.
a sick little. He's like skateboarding. He does a grind with it. Then he goes back to surfing, snowboarding.
Yeah,
down
but the entire
ice.
thing is set to what's the song?
Luna, baby, come here.
What's the song? What's
You
Scooby-Doo?
remind me of a man. No, it's the regular
Yeah, no,
Scooby Doo
what's new
theme.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
It's what's new.
and there's
No,
one shot where
it's-
he
It's not
it's
what's
what-
new. It's the original
what's new.
Scooby Doo. It's
No, it's
Scooby-Doo.
what's new.
Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you?
Dude.
yeah, but it's
Got
like
some
a
work for
Are
you
you
now.
What's new Scooby-Doo theme is also in this movie.
I don't think so.
either way, there's one fucking sick shot where he like flies into the mouth of the tar monster, and it all goes slow motion. It starts freezing around
It's
the edges,
so cool, yeah.
and then he kicks off the back, and you just hear it go weep, and it flies
Yeah.
straight through him and fucking shatters him. It's so fucking sick.
It's
literally the
it's,
coldest
It's
scene
a hard shot,
ever.
yeah.
And and then
It's,
eventually
and it's
he
literally
Get it-
cold.
Get it cold.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
and then
Scooby,
so
get it.
he's flying towards
That's
the
a thinker.
control.
You'll get that one on the drive home.
Unless
he's
you're
flying
listening to
toward-
this while you're driving home, in which case
Yeah.
you're
He's
welcome.
flying towards the
Yeah.
control panel, and then Shaggy throws him it because it's shaped like a frisbee, and he goes to catch it. It's a throwback to. This is the other thing the movie does: is it throws back to scenes that it just happened
Yeah.
frequently.
frequently. And so it's all going slow motion, and you see the pterodactyl coming from like behind, and Scooby has to swim through the air to try and catch
Yeah.
it in slow motion. But he grabs it, takes it, and the evil mastermind goes, "Who do you think you are?" And he goes, "Ruby, Ruby, Ruby." And then he plugs it in, solves the day, and the evil mastermind gets caught. They bring
Solves
it.
the day.
He solves the day.
He solves the day, and then the evil mastermind gets taken before the press. They unmask him, and it's Alicia Silverstone until Velma goes, "It's not. It's actually." And then she pulls off her mask in the most horrifying thing I've ever seen, and it's Tim Blake Nelson, who worked with Alicia Silverstone's cameraman Nate, who apparently didn't know that it was Tim Blake Nelson, and had a relationship and cuddled. They cuddled.
Yeah, they
my bad.
cuddled.
And so they both get arrested, and Mystery Incorporated save the day, and they all dance at the end of the movie. The end.
That's true.
Yeah.
They do dance at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's
the
pretty
end.
fire dance. And then
Um,
this movie invents the end credits scene.
Correct.
does.
Because Scooby says, Rose's code on Nintendo 3DS. No, it's Game Boy.
It was Game Boy.
Game
Game
Boy
Boy.
Advance?
Game Boy.
Yeah.
User's code on Nintendo with Game Boy Advance. And then he holds it to the camera and it's like
Yeah.
SD2.
Mm.
Yeah, and that code worked. I can't remember what it did,
I
but it
mean,
worked.
yeah, I would assume so.
What do you mean? Of course it worked.
It's
They're
insane
not
to
gonna
me
put
that
a fake code.
it
in
was
the end of their
it was
movie.
insane to me that as like a fucking 5-year-old child who had a Game Boy, that like a code from the movie worked in a game. I was like, damn,
Why would
Yeah,
it
no,
not?
I understand why that's insane to you as a 5-year-old, but you know that you're not. You're a 23 man.
I'm
Like,
still
that's-
5-year-old mentally.
Yeah, well, that no. That's
All right,
correct.
so CGI. The CGI in this movie is
Yeah.
is
The
hit or
CGI in this
miss.
movie goes from really
It's-
good to really bad.
In,
and
like,
I
the
have a
blink of
theory.
an eye.
I have a
Okay,
theory.
what's your theory?
I think
I have some stuff for you.
that the
So.
CGI in this movie is bad on purpose. And I
Mm,
think that
okay.
it's bad to match the effects and movement
Okay,
of
so
the original Scooby-Doo cartoon.
So you're saying it's trying to evoke
Oh.
the old Scooby-Doo cartoon?
I think
feel.
it's trying to like okay, so the animation in the old Scooby-Doo cartoons is bad, even by
It's, like,
60
bad and
standards, because
wonky.
Hanna-Barbera, that's the thing they were known for, is making the cheapest cartoons possible.
But
And
yeah,
I feel
that's why
like with
everything's
the
like
bad
reused
CG
gags.
in both of these movies, it's like it's almost like trying to evoke that same feeling in you. Like, I know this looks cheap and bad, but I like it anyway. Did I just pull that out of my butt? Yes.
Would you
Do
like to
I
know the
think
actual
it's
reason?
possible? I think the reason is because these movies didn't have a lot of money to work with.
No, the reason is the tar monster was way too expensive for them to actually make.
That
So
doesn't
they-
explain
they-
the first one though. So I
No,
stand
no,
by
the
my
first one.
thing.
The first one's just it being a lower budget, I'd imagine.
No, I stand by my thing.
But
You
in this
shouldn't.
one,
I stand by
big
my
reason,
reason.
a big reason
Yeah.
was that the tar monster was too expensive, and they told Warner Brothers, they were like, this is way too expensive, and it's going to take away from everything else. And Warner Brothers were just like, we don't give a shit, make the tar monster.
Who told Warner
Yeah.
Brothers?
And presumably the guys, I don't know, fucking Raha Gosnell.
But that was
Yeah.
the director. Wouldn't Warner Brothers tell Ryan Gosling? Not the other way around?
What did they tell me?
No, they were just they presumably he was working on the movie, and they had this tar thing that they really wanted, and it was taking up too much time and effort and money, and he was like, can we do something else, because we can put this towards like everything else in the fucking movie. And they just went, no, like
that
no,
tracks. That tracks.
tar
All right.
monster or you get fired.
So I like
Yeah,
this
no, I
movie
get
better
that.
than the first one. I really
yeah.
do. I love the first Scooby Doo movie, but this movie, there's something about it. It just feels directly like an episode of the cartoon. The characters feel that much more like on point. It's more emotional. Scooby Doo looks better. Shaggy and Scooby's dynamic feels better. The gang is all together and working with one another. This movie truly feels like not only a continuation of the first movie, but more so a continuation of the cartoon, which I love. But I also just like this plot that all of the villains that they've ever faced have now come back to fight them, and they now have
But they're
to.
real monsters.
But now they're real,
Mhm.
and now you've got to defeat them for real. And Seth Green is great, despite the fact that I don't believe a word that comes out of his
Despite the
mouth.
fact that he is Seth Green.
And he's tiny, and he's Chris
Yeah.
Griffin. Like, but I love this movie.
He's Brian
think it-
Griffin or whatever.
I think he does a
He's
better
Brian
job.
Griffin.
I think this movie does a better job of being a Scooby Doo movie than the first movie does. And I love the first movie, but I
Right,
still think this one edges on that cartoon line way better than the first movie ever did.
I stand by what I said at the beginning, where I think the first movie is like, I think both these movies are great, but the first one feels like a natural evolution of taking the cartoon and then making it into like a full feature movie. And this feels like an episode of the cartoon that they had a movie sized budget for.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it, I think.
Because like the first one does more in terms of trying to establish them as different personalities and like having a
But-
story that it wants to tell, where every character has an arc and they all learn to kind of coexist.
I would also
feels more-
argue that this feels like an extension of the cartoon because they're more established, they're famous
Right,
now,
right.
they've got their headquarters, there's a museum. Like, this still has that element where it's like, this is
yeah.
the
The
next
The thing
step.
is, this movie, you could watch this movie as either a sequel to the 2002 one
or a sequel
as-
to just any of the
or
animated
as
series.
what the 2002 one was intended to be, just a sequel
Mm.
to the cartoon, because it doesn't, even though it's clearly meant to take place after the second one, it doesn't ever address their
Mm.
falling out or any of the stuff from the first one. It's just like, it could easily just take place after the cartoon.
The only thing this one has in common with the first one is the cast, really.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of the
Right.
tone that's the
It-
same.
mhm.
And
Yeah, but
Yeah.
even then, the tone is like the tone's still kind of different in this one. It felt like it's the way that the first one was made to be R-rated. This one definitely wasn't. Like, it's very clearly made to
Yeah,
be more of
right,
a
yeah.
kid film, but it's not a detriment, you know.
it's not
Like,
such a harsh tonal shift that it throws you off either.
Like
Like the difference
in
between
comparison
Turtles 1 and Turtles
to
2, where it's
Turtles 2,
like,
yeah.
it just completely throws you
It
off.
feels like a completely different franchise.
Right. This one still
It-
feels like it's in line with the first one.
You could double feature this with the first one, and I feel like they probably make quite good pairings, like back to back.
Yeah.
Because like I say, this feels like a sequel to that one, as well as a sequel to just any animated series.
Right. But yeah, I love this movie. This is my favorite. This personally is my favorite Scooby Doo thing. The first one is up there.
I feel like you said that about the last one.
Well, no, I said that the last one was one of the best Scooby-Doo things, and I stand by that. This is my favorite Scooby-Doo thing. And the last time I saw it was 3 or 4 years ago, and I had the same view then. It's just such a good representation of everything Scooby-Doo has ever done up to the point that this movie came out. It's a great representation of the original cartoon and the sequel cartoons, the first movie, TV specials, the What's New Scooby, like all of those things are so well represented in this movie that I think like it, and even stuff that came out after is inspired by this movie, like Mystery Incorporated and Scoob, like all of those things are so well represented in this movie.
What's New Scooby-Doo after this?
No, What's New Scooby-Doo is the original.
No, I'm talking about the 2008 one was What's New, wasn't it?
Yeah, What's New Scooby-Doo is the...
No.
Was it 2008 though?
What's New Scooby-Doo is what they
Scooby-Doo,
called
Where
the
Are
original.
You?
No, that's Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? What's New Scooby-Doo?
What's New Scooby-Doo?
That was 2002
Network one,
yeah, that was before this, I think.
Yeah.
I think, but either way.
What's New Scooby-Doo was 2002 to 2006, so it encompassed both the movies.
Gotcha.
So I'd imagine that out of all of them, that probably had the biggest influence on these.
Well, I would say that these had the biggest influence on that.
Right, that too.
But yeah, either way, regardless, like the movies, the specials, all of that is so well represented in this movie that I think there's just something kind of special about it, where it's like if you want to know a summary of what Scooby-Doo is about, this movie is the movie. The first one, sure, it's great, but it doesn't have that same like excitement and energy that this one has.
There's something. The first one's more of a movie. Like this feels like it was made by people who are fans of Scooby-Doo for fans of Scooby-Doo, and the first one feels like a movie made to introduce people to new Scooby-Doo.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, no, I love this movie. Once again, it is my favorite Scooby-Doo thing. I know people love Zombie Island, and I love Zombie Island too.
And people love Mystery Inc. And I love Mystery Inc. too.
And I love Mystery Inc. too. And I think people love Velma.
I think Coolsville. And people love Schoolville. And I think
it fucking sucks.
I think Coolsville sucks.
I think it stinks, and I don't like it.
It stinks, and I can't have this conversation again.
Real quick, final thoughts?
I really liked all the outfits in this movie. I thought
the costume design goes stupid, bro.
The costume design is so quirky. Every single one is just
peak.
Like it's peak, genuinely. Like even the one-off, like him just wearing the green Fred jacket with the ascot.
No, or like the jacket Shaggy wore for one scene that was like a parka.
Yeah,
it was brown with like green on the inside.
Or the one you pointed out where Fred had the white shirt with the little bit of.
It's got an orange collar.
Yeah,
the costume design goes crazy. They put so much effort and time into the costume design of Scooby-Doo 2
and the set design. The set design in this
we didn't talk about the set design much, but it goes crazy. The CGI is horrible, but I claim the
CGI has parts where it's horrible, and it has parts where it's kind of really
mostly horrible outside of Scooby-Doo and a couple other scenes.
I would say if Scooby-Doo is included in the overall CG, then I'd say more than 50% was on the better side. It's just the bad stuff stood out more because
that's
it was
true.
A giant
the bad stuff was really bad.
Really rough. Yeah.
When the when you see close-ups of the tar monster next to like human skin,
and
you're just like
we're saying like because it showed the tar monster at first, we're like, wow, that looks like really good. And then it showed a close-up of it like grabbing Fred or something. We're like, oh,
no.
All right,
that was experience with most of the CG outside of Scooby-Doo. Most of the CG is you get a first look and you go, hey, that's kind of really good, and then it does like it in motion or it in another shot, and you go,
we're done.
Josh,
we're done.
It's over. We're done. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Semi Pro.
What are you doing?
We will see you next week. We're going to watch something that we're watching Scoob next week. I can't wait. I'm very excited to see Scoob for the first time in like 2 years. We'll see you on the very next episode.
I'm not seeing Scoob.
Semi Pro.
I'm not seeing Scoob.